So now I'd actually like to turn the mic over to Ms. Phyllis Frey. She's going to speak a little bit more about the real estate and safety concerns with the All Aboard Florida project. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Casey. Really appreciate what you're doing. It's helping us all. And you're part of this picture. You are the picture here. It shows you what one person can do, and it shows you what an entire community can do when we're united. I'm from Delray Beach, and I'm pleased to be here talking with you today to share some of your concerns. Each community is a little different. We have our own specific problems, but mainly the impacts are going to affect our safety, our lives, our livelihoods, and our property values. And I want to talk to you about that. As chairperson for the American Coalition for Property Rights, we're strong and staunch supporters of Florida Not All Aboard. And we are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, an educational organization that does the research and provides it to the public and publicly elected officials so they can make an informed choice about All Aboard Florida. So, as Casey mentioned, from Brevard on south, we have the 29 resolutions, 26,000 signatures, resolutions from homeowners associations, civic organizations, cities, counties, fire districts, emergency services. So many people, tens of thousands of people who are going to be affected by this, and they are uniting as one from the Space Coast right on down. And every candidate in our District 18 now has taken a position in opposition to All Aboard Florida. So that shows you what you can do. So keep it going, keep it strong, because it's working. So why is all of this happening? Because people like you are becoming educated and understand the actual impact All Aboard Florida is going to have, aside from the fancy TV commercials you've seen and all of the slick propaganda, public relations department is providing to us. But today I just want to address mainly two topics: safety and property, and what we stand to lose. As Casey mentioned, Fortress is a $60 billion hedge fund corporation that is brilliant. They're brilliant. You have to admire them for their brilliance. They're going to do all of this to us, and they're going to ask us to pay for it. So you've got to give them credit. But as the flow chart shows, they also own Sea Castle Shipping and Florida East Coast Industries, Florida East Coast Railways, Flagler Land Holdings, and All Aboard Florida. And these entities combined pretty much tie up shipping, they dominate the sea, the freight, the public transportation, and real estate. So it's a pretty big package. And again, $1.5 billion coming from you with interest over 35 years. That's about $2.5 billion. And we all know that rail costs have overrun. So the actual costs and the ends are going to be phenomenal. But these are for starters. Now, their propaganda machine, public relations department, has millions to spend. And we're just a grassroots organization here. But they went to work right away airing television ads. If you've seen them, I don't know if they're running down here.
They're running down here.
Pretty slick. Pretty slick. And they list 6 myths. I'm going to address a couple of those. I'm going to start with their quote saying, "So cars can be taken off congested highways," end quote. Okay. So they claim that they're going to take 3 million cars off the highway. Let's look at the facts. Now, I made a chart for you. Unfortunately, the print didn't come out as large, so it's not an eye test, but I'll follow along with you. We use the letter C for cars, 3 million, D for days of the year, 365, H for hours, that's peak highway use between 8 and 10 a.m., that's 14 hours, M for miles. From Miami to Orlando is 230, and R for major highways, I-95 and the Turnpike, 2 routes. Now, the calculation demonstrates that if 3 million cars were removed by All Aboard Florida, how many fewer cars would you see ahead of you on the highway? Let's do the calculation. 3 million, 365 days, 230 miles, 14 hours, 2 routes equals 1.27 cars. So if you're driving on the Turnpike or I-95, if you look 1 mile down the road, you can remove 1 car. That is the net effect that All Aboard Florida will have. Now, here's another way of looking at it. They say 3 million automobiles will be taken off the highway. That's roughly 2 passengers per car. That's 6 million people that are allegedly going to jump out of their cars and onto all aboard Florida's trains to go up to Orlando. That's 2 passengers per car, 6 million people divided by 32 trains per day. That's 513 passengers per train, or the equivalent of 2 jumbo jets, or 64 jumbo jets per day, or about 18,000 passengers per day? I don't think so. So that's their business plan. By the way, these are 3 million cars that would drive into our communities, bringing revenue and money to our businesses. And all aboard Florida would take that away? Now, let's look at safety. All Aboard Florida's ad also claims, quote, bringing you the safest trains in America, end quote. Sounds great. Now, in the past 10 years, let's look at the safety record for trains in Southeast Florida. Fact, 79% of railway deaths occur in Southeast Florida. 79%. Why? Because we have more at-grade crossings than anywhere else. And that means 353 street-level crossings. In the past 10 years, FEC has incurred 134 railway crossing deaths. In the past 5 years, 21 deaths and 72 crossing accidents. For that same period, there were 84 FEC random crossing deaths that the Florida Department of Transportation calls epidemic in our area. In the past 4 years, Tri-Rail, which operates at speeds of 35 to 45 miles per hour, incurred 11 deaths and 7 injuries. In 2014, there have already been 7 deaths. All Aboard Florida intends to triple Tri-Rail speeds, adding an increased frequency of 32 trains every 24 minutes. This will increase the projected likelihood of deaths by over 300%. How safe are you? As we know, FEC, the parent company to All Aboard Florida, is planning on exponentially increasing the influx of freight rail traffic due to the expansionism of the canal, with as many as 50 freight trains, as much as 2.5 miles long, that will be grinding through your neighborhoods, plus All Aboard Florida's 32 high-speed rail trains hurtling along at 110 miles per hour. This is going to exacerbate road congestion, not relieve it as their TV ad claims. In Delray Beach, our city is struggling under budget constraints. We cannot even provide the lights to our Little League field or pave some of our streets. You know, every town has a budget, and we are working very hard. And now, with this overlay of All Aboard Florida and the crossing costs, can't afford them. We're going to have to close down 2 of our crossings so that everything is funneled through one. We have 24,800 cars a day going through there, all now going through one crossing. Once again, this is going to increase congestion, not reduce it, as the ad says. 10,000 freight rail tons traveling at 50 miles per hour will take 1.5 miles to make an emergency stop. A passenger train, 800 feet long, traveling at 110 miles per hour, that's 160 feet per second, takes approximately 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile to stop. Just one locomotive weighs 268,000 pounds. Just one rail car weighs 100,000 pounds. So, just how safe will you be? From the time a train moving at 110 miles an hour sounds its horn until the impact is 7 seconds. A school bus stalled on the tracks. A mother with a child in the back seat. An elderly senior citizen has 7 seconds to die. The crossing gate comes down 30 seconds before the train arrives at the crossing. No sealed corridor is going to make this safe. What it will do is force us to pay the cost of the crossing upgrades, leaving All Aboard Florida and FEC with the $1 billion in improved assets, with them assuming no liability for accidents or death, and that is holding our safety hostage. So we're not only going to be living with this nightmare, we're going to be dying from it. I want to speak now about the effect that all aboard Florida will have on our property values. How many of you own private property? Me too. How many of you own a business? You're going to be impacted. You are going to be impacted. Private property is, for most of us, the greatest monetary asset we'll ever have. We can use our homes to leverage a business. We can use it to build wealth. But for most of us, it is the biggest asset we'll ever own. And for some of us, just the last great place on earth we can go to raise our family and live as we choose. And that is your right. As I mentioned earlier, with 50 freight trains plus 32 passenger trains going through our small communities, this is going to be a continuous, giant, mobile industrial complex, disrupting the lives of tens of thousands of people and changing the character of our neighborhoods forever. Where will our piece of paradise go? And the piece of paradise that tourists come here to find, how will this affect our bottom line? 2 independent studies from Martin County Appraiser's Office show that properties located within 1,000 feet of the rail tracks will decline in value between 5 and 20%. In St. Lucie County, for example, there are 1,539 such properties, valued at over $300 million. And that's an average loss of $37 million from ad valorem tax rolls. In Indian River County, we have 4,000 properties that fit in that category, and that's 2.5 times as many as in St. Lucie County. Can we really afford to lose $90 million from our tax rolls? No. In Martin County, there are 1,400 properties, and in Palm Beach, over 170,000 that fall within those parameters. Now, this is not a NIMBY issue. People keep saying, oh, it's not in my backyard issue. It isn't. It's a nomad issue. Not on my dime. So this is another claim that All Aboard Florida makes in its TV ad, that they're going to bring prosperity to the region. This is not prosperity. As we know from individual reports and letters from real estate agents, the sell-off is already beginning long before the first new track is laid. And even if you do not live near the tracks, the ripple effect will be felt throughout your community. So while our real estate values are declining, our taxes will be soaring to pay for this railway venture. For someone else's profit, it doesn't work. When asked about the negative impacts All Aboard Florida would have on the private property owners, as Casey stated, we own the land and we can do what we want. Now, I support that. I'm for private property rights. They own the land. They can do what they like. But I submit to you that private property comes with responsibilities. I own private property, but I cannot raise cattle or swine in my front yard, and neither can my neighbor, because we have a responsibility to each other. And I submit to you that All Aboard Florida has a responsibility not to destroy the lives and the livelihood and the property values of tens of thousands of property owners. I have a poster to show you here. Give me a second to flip it over. I hope you can see that. So, the RIF loan. Well, the RIF loan doesn't just cover tracks and trains. It says buildings. That means real estate, depots. This is an artist rendering of the Miami terminal, the All Aboard Florida Depot. 2 80-story tall buildings surrounded by high-density population. There's something called transit-oriented development that I learned about by attending the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council meetings for the last 2 years. This is a plan. This is a re-engineering plan for how and where we'll live. Now, consider this. The RIF loan, and Tim will explain this much better than I, is the interest rate it's a giveaway. It's 3.25% roughly. So it's our tax money being given away. Now, these developers, Flagler landholders, follow the flow chart. It's all about real estate, it's all about freight. They can come in, and what developer or builder is going to be able to compete at 3.25%? Not going to happen. They have hubs drawn and planned out all along the corridor, all the way from Miami North to Cocoa. And this is where the development will be. Existing businesses are not going to fare well in this. They're not going to be able to compete. Planning and zoning changes will come about. This also is part of the plan. So bear in mind that your property, again, could suffer badly. They say, well, your property will increase if you live within a mile of the hub. And that may be true, except, remember, they're holding all the cards. They will decide what businesses will live and which ones will not. They work hand in glove, you know, with Flagler, all aboard Florida, because they're symbiotic. One feeds the other. I think that's about it for what I wanted to cover. I want to say that I speak with Mr. Reininger and Mr. Rusty Roberts toe-to-toe, and I can tell you that they're not coming down here out of the goodness of their hearts to provide us with passenger service. They just aren't. The robber barons are back from the 1800s, and they're here for two things, our money and our land. So the next time you see Florida's fancy TV ads and they want to attach themselves to Henry Flagler's coattails, just remember, the train that once brought life to Florida is about to kill it. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Phyllis. Very helpful. Appreciate it.